everyone, it is Kate Rebel of Kate Rebel's Realm. I am back for the next video. I am so excited to be doing the Cursed Cult. This is going to be so much fun, and I am clearly dressed for the occasion. I have so much black and black lace, but it is the summertime currently, obviously, and I am in the summer vibes, but it doesn't really match this vibe, and I wish I could match the vibe, but you know what? It's okay. I don't need to match the vibe. I'm gonna take a seat. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna get into it. I'm also getting over a cold, so beware of the voice cracks and the sniffles. I'm going to try my best to make myself sound clear and nice for you guys, and do the part 1 of the Cursed Cult. Let's get into it. We're starting with a Lucas. Let's get into your story right this way. Life for goblins in the frozen wastes in the shadows of Fort Blacklast and the altar of the Old One is difficult at best of times and encourages tight-knit communities bound by ancient laws, thieving from nearby human and dwarven settlements. These bonds are ultimately the key source of their strength, yet those who do not fit in are relentlessly shunned, sometimes with horrifying results. Lucas is one such goblin with a notorious tale of revenge. Born with unusual skin as pale and cold as snow, Lucas was feared by his goblin brethren and forced to perform labor deemed menial, even by goblin standards, punished for his difference. From being used as bait to hunt sharks to removing the rotting cadavers of the dead in the underground hovels, the goblins made it clear they loathed the Lucas, ever suspicious of him and the power they suspected he had. Indeed, ancient goblin folklore maintains that pale goblins have no souls and are the property of mysterious and insidious spirits. Lucas heard this so much he came to believe it was true, and thus his deadly alter ego was born. While the other goblins bonded in ceremonial customs, Lucas was left alone in the tundra, where he trained with a bow he made from a gnarled tree, hiding it whenever others were nearby. For years he trained and plotted until one day he thought of a scheme to have his revenge. In the lands to the north of the mighty castle Fort Blacklast, said to be filled with great storerooms and treasures, Lucas said he had found a route where they could dig inside, take what they could, and sell the treasure to human towns. The goblins agreed despite their hatred of Lucas, greedy for the riches that lay within. However, Lucas misled them and took them to a cave rumored to be filled with banished ice trolls, who killed the goblins for disturbing their hallowed grounds as Lucas shot arrows at those who tried to run away. Lucas was spared, bowing down to worship the ice trolls and swearing to serve them as his new masters. Lucas now serves his ice troll overlords, sharing in their desire to take Fort Blacklast and its legendary riches. But is he really serving the ice trolls or his own greed? Ooh, I think he's serving his own greed, because I have a feeling he is kind of a misfit that's always served himself. I feel like he's like, yeah, sure, ice overlords, take me to your gold and I'll serve you. Yeah, sure. Voltus. Whew, Voltus. This was such an exciting thing when you first start playing the game, and Voltus looks like this, and then he turns into this, and you're like, oh, okay, hi. Allies in the storm. As the purest fusion of natural energy, Voltus was accidentally summoned to this land by the wizards of the White Tower. He showed the world his incomparable lightning energy, as well as the infinite possibilities of magic. We don't know exactly what he is yet, but there's no doubt that he's like a treasure vault keeping the ultimate secret of magical energy. Well, anyway, that wasn't the most exciting. That's fine. We're on to Atrax. I combined Atrox and Ajax's names together just there for you guys. Spiders in the sand. A guardian of the mysterious and gloomy ancient catacombs of Everlon, Atrox is a ferocious Eternigan warrior unafraid of death, which is unsurprising considering Eternigans cannot truly die. Not only is his once mortal face hidden behind his helmet twisted and corrupted, Aatrox's mind is broken and his soul is void. This makes him the ideal guardian for the cursed halls of Everlyn, driven by a need to defend the enigmatic land from outsiders. While it is impossible to know much about Aatrox as an individual prior to the distortion of his people into what they are now, an event that happened long ago known only as the Change, it is possible to make an educated guess. In ancient times, Aatrox, like most other Eternigan guardians, would have likely sworn an oath of fealty to the mysterious order of priest kings that ruled the land before it was swallowed by the desert. Why the kingdom was submerged is a mystery, much like everything else related to the Eternigans, but it is commonly maintained that all began when the priest kings found a meteorite that gave them enormous power. Eternigan hieroglyphs say that this was a tear of the moon god, and the priest kings used it to make their kingdom rich and their dynasty immortal. However, the Eternigans were depraved in the power and driven mad by immortality, forcing the gods to bury them from the face of Taya. Yet even the gods could not hide their powers forever. Aatrox's oath to the Priest Kings has presumably continued long after the change and has spread to a need to protect Everlyn and its secrets from those who venture inside, whirling his mighty sword over his head to eliminate any who stand in his path. The markings on Aatrox's armor indicate he was a member of the Order of the Desert Spider, likely a class of soldiers that launched frenzied suicide attacks in battle. For the ancient Eternigans, the Desert Spider was a symbol of fierce resilience and bravery, as they were known to fight even after losing one of their 8 limbs. In a similar manner to the desert spider, a now extinct species, Aatrox rushes into battle with no fear of death, knowing he will soon be resurrected by the power of the Eternigan Priest Kings should he fall, unlike the desert spider. I don't know why I never saw all the spider markings all over Aatrox's fit. He looks exactly like a character or like a entity that you can get in Baldur's Gate 3 called Connor. Now we just call him Connor, and I totally forgot what his name was when I was talking about him in a different video and I called him Connor. I might have cut it out, I don't know. Connor George Jorge. Rotten Mercenary. There was an occasion when I encountered a patient with a most curious affliction. Though long dead, he was convinced that he was still living. Excerpt from the notes by High Archpriest Lightlock. Lightlock! That's what it's in his book. No one remembers the name of the battle where George lost his life. He was but one of the dozens of poor souls lost amid a barren battlefield. But unlike his brother in arms, George did not succumb to the peaceful slumber of death. His first memory after catching an arrow to the eye began with the shrill scream of a terrified child. Confusion seized the poor soldier. Where was he? Why were people backing away? And what was wrong with his hands? The uproar around him faded into dim humming as he turned his hands over, staring at leathery, dry skin caked in flaking blood. Frightened, George fled to the woods. He found a stream where, to his horror, he beheld his own reflection. He saw a rotting skeleton with gray skin drooping from exposed bones and insects crawling through its exposed rib cage. George was dead. He traveled the boglands of Taya, cloaking himself to avoid attention, and never lingering long in one place. He despaired. Why had he been denied death? Would he be hated forever? These thoughts were plaguing him when he heard a cry from a shadowed alley one night. George hurried towards the sound and discovered a merchant being robbed by thieves. Reflexively, George fell upon the thieves, disarming one and frightening the other so badly they both fled. To George's surprise, the merchant thanked him profusely. Unbothered by George's gruesome appearance, the merchant suggested that George might put his skill with the blade and gruesome appearance to use in their employ. And so George found a new purpose as Taya's greatest undead mercenary. So he had a little moment of self-doubt. He had a little moment of, why can't I just die? Now I'm ugly and stinky and no one's gonna want to look at me. And then this one guy was like, you're disgusting. You're hired. I hope you guys enjoyed today's part 1 of the Cursed Cult. I sure did. I think this has been one of my favorite ones so far. Maybe it's because I'm deliriously sick with a fever, or maybe it's because the stories were actually very good, and I actually really like the stories. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kate Rebel. This is Kate Rebel's Realm, and I will see you guys next time. Mwah! Why the kingdom? Why the kingdom? I don't know why I sang that. When will my reflection show who I am inside? Hey, but it actually did show who he is inside. Bones. However, Lucas missiled them and... missiled? He just... I have a fever. Story time. So you can like fall asleep listening to my beautiful crackly voice while I read these stories.